Gotta love coming back to the remnants of a project completed. This place is absolutely filthy, and for what I have planned, probably shouldn't stay that way. Part of me kinda hates this. I should be excited, with finally getting this pile back on the road again. Nowhere close to perfect, but sure a lot closer than it was. And I am excited, that's not it. It's just, why does that excitement feel muted? Almost like an afterthought. It's like all I can think of right now isn't the car, but the garage I built it in. And all I want to do in it in the future. Maybe that's where this issue kinda starts, the constant escalation of goals. And it must all stem from actually using the garage I laid out for the first time. In my head, I built it up as the answer to all my problems, a place I could finally and efficiently work on cars. But if I'm being honest, it just wasn't that. It seems like actually using the garage pointed out a bunch of things that I just wanted to make better in it. I guess that does kinda make sense though. You might not know something needs improving until you spend some time with it. Before I immediately throw another project in here, I think it does make a lot of sense to try and make the place better while it's empty. After cleaning up the remnants of the old project, that is. But either way, my thought's the same. No better time to make improvements than the present. It's crazy how fast clutter builds up. Mental, physical, it's all the same. But especially at the end of a long push like this, there's always just a lot of stuff. Some of it useful, some of it worth keeping, but most of it just taking up space. And that chaotic environment makes total sense when you're in the process of making progress. But when that series of moments has come and gone, well, the best thing you can do is try and get everything back as close as possible to where it belongs, even if you don't know for sure yet where that is. It's moments like this where I almost wish I could fast forward in time. And not to skip putting the tools away, because that's satisfying, but what I would want to skip to is the point where I can afford to give them an actual home. Not just an old set of wooden drawers that's falling apart. And that's the biggest thing I actually noticed about this garage after having used it. Nothing really has a home yet. All the tools go back with the rest of their sets, but where do the sets go? It's not like where I had them was efficient at all. It was just where they could go. And given a real toolbox is still a little out of reach, and I haven't found one on sale, it seems like that's where they're gonna have to go again. Still, this process of cleaning reminds me that I did make some upgrades to the place while I was working in it. More spur-of-the-moment things, but upgrades nonetheless. And now that the garage is the focus again, actually making them permanent upgrades is worth my time. Tying up those loose ends in my head so I don't have to think about them anymore. Like finally hanging up the chalkboard that I was gifted. Just a little bit of work for a lot of payoff. Being able to write stuff down? Oh yeah. Now that's an upgrade actually worth celebrating. And now that it's not just sitting on the floor, it's useful. Fits the vibe of the space as a whole, too. Plus, it was a gift, and it wasn't the only one. The day I moved the S6 into the garage, I also received some banners, and I've never had one before. So in all honesty, it was a little bit of a surreal feeling to put them up. And even though right now I can't swing something like a giant toolbox, it's not like these little things don't impact the place as a whole. I still believe they're eventually going to add up into a place I really like. It's kind of funny how problems present themselves. Sometimes you don't realize you need something until you need it. And to make that realization, sometimes you gotta be in the middle of a project. Take the shop vac for an example. The thought to grab one didn't even cross my mind until I was in the middle of the S6 project. And now that it's here, I can't really imagine the garage without one. Compact enough to fit under the big table too. And when space is the issue, traits like that are exactly what to look for. Come to think of it, I've never vacuumed this place out. When I was doing all the initial construction, I really just swept it. So finally being in the position where I can truly clean it is a pretty cool moment, even if on the surface it's something as small as a cheap shop vac. The banners, the chalkboard, the vacuum, those all go to show that little things can truly have a big impact. But sometimes, bigger purchases really are just necessary. So while working on the S6, I made one. And just like the shop vac, I wouldn't have realized how important this upgrade was without having spent time working on something in the garage. I mean, without it, standing here right now would be miserable. I feel like I can hardly think, it's so hot outside. 7th day in a row over 100 degrees, in fact. It's too hot to do almost anything other than sit inside. It's like the whole world is moving in slow motion. Even the plants feel it. I should be in there working right now, but I just can't bring myself to. I thought the insulation would help keep the cool air in and the hot air out, but what I never realized is it works both ways. So once the air is warmer inside the garage, there's just no way for it to cool down. So with my use of the steam cleaner, I've effectively built an oven. The more work I do in there, the warmer it gets, and something tells me that that's just not sustainable. So I sit here with a dilemma in my head, knowing what I want to do and what I can do. What I see as a perfect solution, and what I see as a feasible solution in the moment. Is it worth not making progress in the present to sit there and hope for the future? I don't really know, but what I do know is it's never wise to look a gift horse in the mouth, and a half-off sale is pretty hard to beat. This is a tower air conditioning system. And while it's not the most efficient way to cool a building, I got this for an absolute steal because it's last year's model and they were doing a 50% off sale. It's also portable, overrated for the space I have, and it's not like I couldn't use it somewhere else down the line when I do eventually put real AC in this place. But given the S6 is currently torn apart in the middle of the garage, it's too hot to breathe. And once again, this was like $250. I see no reason why this wasn't the best choice for the moment. It's always hard not to get caught up on what could be though. And now I can just sit here, relax, and wait. Finally, this place will be habitable again. And to the portable AC's credit, it was, but it wasn't a perfect solution. I mean, the hose it came with wasn't even long enough. For the whole time I was working on the S6, the AC sat there, stood upon glass bricks. But it's not like I cared in the moment, given how filthy the whole place was. But now that it's empty and I'm back in the improving mindset, I think replacing those glass bricks with a little more storage makes a ton of sense. No reason it can't sit on shelves instead. Then I'll have the benefits of working AC and more places to put stuff. Seems like a bit of a win-win. These shelves are modular, so I played with the placement a bit until I found one that made the most sense. No matter the configuration, I'd get the same amount of storage. It's not like I have anything specific to go here yet anyways. Now the only issue is the AC itself. While it does work, something is a little fishy about it. I have it set to 60 degrees, and the entire time I've owned it, it's never been able to keep the place below 75. And it's not like it's not rated for the building size. It should be more than powerful enough. I've got a mystery with only a few possible solutions. Either the AC is defective, which is unlikely, or something else in the garage is winning the battle. Maybe the garage isn't quite as insulated as I originally thought. That's about as warm as I'd expect for being a thin piece of metal in the sun, radiating nothing but heat. Then again, speaking of heat radiation, even walking under these old fluorescent bulbs makes me start to sweat. I swear it goes up by 2 degrees every inch you get closer to them. No wonder the AC can't keep up. The combo of an uninsulated side sitting in the sun and 4 active heat lamps constantly on inside the building. I guess at this point, these are only theories though. Still, they're ones that make no sense not to test. I think the simplest to start with is the lights. These are LED equivalent of the fluorescent bulbs that are currently in the garage. And LEDs are kind of just an ultimate upgrade over fluorescent lights. They lose a bit on the character department, but when they're on, they generate little to no heat, are magnitudes brighter, way more energy efficient, and a whole lot cheaper to replace. It's really not even a fair competition. Eventually, I want to redo the lighting in this building entirely. Better wiring, better positioning, better looking lights, and the works. But that'll be a whole project for down the road. And right now, in the moment, by simply replacing the bulbs, I can get 90% of that benefit with 10% of the effort. This is quite literally as simple as replacing bulb for bulb. And these are set with a resistance such that I don't even have to mess with the ballast. I put all of the new bulbs in, mimicking their original location, and after testing every single one, the difference in light is absolutely insane. Plus, they're cold to the touch, unlike the fluorescents, so maybe they'll help with the cooling issue too. Oh, fiberglass insulation, how I've not missed you. Still, this is another really simple upgrade that makes absolutely no sense not to do in the moment. Fiberglass is cheap, and this is pre-cut to fit and work with the garage door. It even comes with a bunch of little hooks to make sure it doesn't fall off. Given that the garage door is made out of sheet metal, it makes sense that this would be a major heat source for the building. The sun hits it directly, and it effectively works as a radiator for the entire inside. And up until now, there's been absolutely nothing to stop that flow of heat. So this should honestly make a pretty significant difference. And the installation is pretty simple too. Each of these panels gets some 3M tape from the kit, then attached to that is the first half of this 2-part clip which holds the fiberglass in place. And since the garage door here is wider than normal, I ended up buying 2 kits for this specific door. All that's left to do is toss some gloves on and get itchy all over again. And since the pieces are pre-cut, it should go rather quickly. Still, nothing I'm looking forward to. It looks like the garage itself is finally insulated. Well, completely this time. The only issue I see now is the fact that it's not sealed whatsoever. Shutting the garage door reveals that the way it was installed leaves a lot to be desired. I can pretty much stick my whole hand to the outside world, making me think they simply didn't put a seal on it to begin with. Yep, that's just what I expected. Normally there's a little rubber seal that sits flush with the edge of the door, but on here it's just empty space. But I guess there are worse things to find. I mean, that's one more thing I can do in the present. I shut the garage door once more and was greeted with darkness. Well, except for the bottom edge of the door, but that one wasn't in stock. So ignoring that for now, absolute darkness. Hopefully that fixes our temperature control issue. I keep thinking of all the things I want to do to this place that I just can't yet. Better storage, better tables, a real toolbox, tools that aren't broken. Sometimes I wish this whole place was a different building entirely. But the issue with thinking that way is it's limiting. I've always thought that being so focused on the could-bes in the future never really helped in the present. It's like it's just a distraction from the things you can do to make it better in the moment. Even if it's something as simple as light switch covers or outlet covers, it'll add up. And speaking of doing what you can in the moment, I think it's worth setting up another hand-me-down tool edition. This is a brand new air compressor from 1972. This was a gift from an uncle of mine, and it fits the style of this garage perfectly. Technically, it's an air compressor built for spraying paint, but it can run air tools as well. So for a garage like this, it's absolutely perfect. Compact, fits under the table, and despite being over 50 years old, fires right up. Plus, the idea of a period correct respray on something like the GTI would be pretty fun. Either way, this is more progress in the moment, and it's another great addition to the ever-improving project that is this garage. A charming one at that. This garage is far from perfect, and to be honest, I don't know how to make it perfect. But I think that in itself kind of makes sense. I've only actually used it once. The S6 project was the only thing I've ever done in here. And while that project did make me realize how inefficient this garage currently is, you can't figure out how to make something better without knowing it needs improving to begin with. I wouldn't have known the tools, the lights, the AC, or any of that was inefficient without trying to use it and realizing it was. It's like you have to find out and acknowledge that something is wrong before you're able to figure out how to make it truly better. What may seem only like a small step forward in the present is still a step away from where you were, and that's much better than waiting for a big step and doing nothing in the process. Nothing's ever going to change unless you do something about it after all. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider dropping a like and subscribing for more. That's the best way you can support my channel. Either way, I'll see you guys in the next episode. Thank you again. Have a wonderful day.